Hello, everybody. It's me, Soga Lucario. Yeah, sorry for being gone for a while. I just been, I've just been having nothing to upload, but I do have something here. I just want to preface this by saying there's a warning that I'm going to put in this video about what this video's topic is today, and that is Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4. This is unscripted. I never made a video like this before where I just talk about a certain thing, especially if it's in like spoiler territory or whatnot. But I really do want to talk about Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 because I just finished Chapter 4 last night, and my god, it was crazy. So I guess I'll start off with Chapter 3. Um, when I first booted into it, because I was avoiding spoilers for like a good amount of time for chapter 3 and 4 because I didn't get the game until like middle of June mostly, and I haven't touched Deltarune ever, like the game itself, since chapter 2 released back in 2021, so that was like almost 4 years ago roughly. But I guess like booting into the game, because I decided, because when you buy the game, and for those who have played like the demo version, because I had the demo version on Switch, if you bought the game, basically all your save progress is deleted and stuff. So I basically wanted to, like, start it over, play through chapter 1, 2, get through those guys first, and it was definitely a nostalgia trip, like, obviously. But yeah. Um, I guess we'll start off with like how chapter 3 is, I guess. Um, man. Uh, this specific chapter was pretty good. I liked it a lot. It was really fun. Um, especially uh, like recalling certain things, like the whole Tana character was very interesting too. I liked him. His battle theme was pretty cool too. Um, Also the retro style, like Legend of Zelda, like mini games for his like sections and stuff like that. That was also pretty nice. Um, like seeing the the fun gang. I could just say that they're a fun gang and stuff like that. Uh, Seeing them doing all these things and stuff like that, progress through the story, and also like there's more development with the characters, especially with Susie. Susie has been getting a lot of development lately for these like last two chapters, and I'm all for it because she's like my favorite character, like in the whole entire game. It's actually insane. But I do kind of understand where Tenna is coming from because he's also like an old TV. He's an old TV, and you know how old TVs are. Once they're like used up and everything, they're just you just don't turn them on anymore. And I think like when he'll like get upset at like not being like played with anymore, used anymore, especially like during like the turning point of the chapter, and like it gets to a point where we do have to fight him and stuff like that. I've been mercying every enemy so far. Um, I haven't gotten in progress of doing the secret bosses for chapter 3 and 4. I don't know exactly what they are yet, but later on, maybe in like a month or something like that, or maybe a few weeks, I'll probably just make like a new save file so I could just like delve back into the game so I can fight the secret bosses. Um, yeah, it was crazy, but like seeing him get absolutely curb stomped by the knight was kind of saddening because like it felt like he was actually like getting to know it. Well, not getting to know. I mean, he already knew. He technically, quote unquote, knew us, but it was kind of weird. Um, Obviously, I couldn't fight the knight. One, because I actually didn't even know that that was a secret boss. Actually, I didn't know that. So and also like before, I forgot to save. So Tenna took all the fun games health away when I fought the knight, which was a cut scene. So that was lucky. Is seeing Undyne's dark design because like she got captured, and I was like, what is she doing here, doing in like the dark world and stuff like that. Um, it was kind of crazy. Like I did like her dark world design. It kind of resembled the Undertale one. I will also say that I've never played Undertale before. You could you can yeah. It's yeah. I'll play it eventually. I do have the game now, but young me wasn't able to have it before because I didn't have anything to play it on at the time. Another thing was that I do like the music in these two chapters was just so good, bro. I'll talk about that later when I get to chapter 4 in like a bit. But man, it was bang. Um, Obviously chapter 1, 2, 3, those chapters were like on the goofier side, but like towards like the end point of chapter 3 was when like things just started to get more serious because the knight was here like basically in person, and like we're basically chasing after them, and then chapter 3 basically ending with the bunker, Susie and Chris running down in the bunker and stuff. But then Chris basically knowing what was in the bunker was kind of like very interesting because us the player, we're the soul, right? We're the quote unquote vessel that was discarded, and it feels like I think to like the other chapters we're gonna get like more and more stuff related to Chris, and I'll talk about that when with chapter 4 right now. So basically, chapter 4, right? Basically, the halfway point, as it was said in the credits of chapter 4, and how chapter 5 is going to be releasing in 2026, sometime soon. And I started off with like this chapter was very emotional. This chapter 4 really hit hard. It's like man, it's like man. I actually kind of cried when I was playing through it after certain moments, and it really was it really was one of those chapters where like you're like this is important. We gotta do what it takes to like stop this thing from happening. Being the Titan that the knight spawns in, overloading the fountain and stuff. And I like how, from what I heard, people this chapter is called The Prophecy, and I kind of like understood that too, because when I play games, it's kind of hard for me to get into like the lore and stuff. But with Deltarune, it's a lot easier because since it's basically in chapters, the pieces of the lore are a lot easier to like remember or take account of compared to other games which are way longer than Deltarune, like combined wise. And I feel like that's helpful for me because this is a game that's a lot easier for me to like understand what's going on in it, even if I'm not that much of a lore head when it comes to games like these. I try to be, but it's kind of hard for my brain to wrap around just how I work and stuff like that. But chapter 4. I did like the section where Chris can just willingly just like take the soul out of their like body or like I guess like heart, chest, I guess. Um I did like that. And I did like how Lost Girl was playing when you're trying to like get to Chris in the kitchen. And I also like how for like the Lost Girl also plays for those that don't know, and I already put the spoilers in, but Lost Girl also plays where you go to the prize machine and you have 1,225 I think it was points. Yeah, points for a tennis chapter for chapter 3. If you go, I think it's in the B rank room. It's in the B. It's no. It's in the B rank room. And if you do that, you're basically transported to a whole entire thing that has like the Lost Girl uh theme to it. It's really good. I think it's a very underrated song, honestly. It may not. It could probably be like top 10, but I just gotta listen to it more, and then I'll like get used to it. And I kind of like the theme that it's also basically December 25th, and like, and the character's name is Des. Des December DEC. I don't know why I didn't pick that up before because you got Noel and you got Rudy and they're basically like reindeers and stuff like that. I don't know how I didn't pick that up before, but I did. I'm kind of glad I did. I think when they introduce Asgore again in chapter 4, him just being nonchalantly like being the quote unquote like maid, I guess, for Noel's like home. It was kind of crazy to see him again after like him like trying to confront Toriel once again, which didn't work obviously. Uh, yeah, that was awkward. But seeing Noel's mother, Carol, like appear in the game, kind of sent chills down my spine. Ironically enough, because she does not have a normal theme. Noel has a theme. Asgore has a theme. Susie has a theme. Like all those characters have like a normal theme, but Carol, her theme is basically her theme. Even though it was like 40 seconds long, if I remember correctly, from the OST shot, it's only 40 seconds long, and that crap scares. That actually scares. And man, it because it wasn't like an upbeat theme or like an evil theme. It just was like something that puts fear, chills down your spine. Ironically enough, because you know her color scheme is more blue and it looks cold, which makes sense. Also, the fact that she kind of looks like the Grinch. That was also kind of a funny thing that I saw that I wanted to point out. Um, like her theme sounds like, you know how some horror movie characters have like the little like chill, like fog-esque theme going on? That's what hers is. And seeing her to tell basically everybody to get out now was crazy. Especially the Susie. I did not like how she talked to Susie. And I kind of like how Susie bounced back about saying that she's taking Noelle to the festival. I did like that. But then but then seeing her talk to Chris about how Chris is basically welcome to the house at any point in time. Well, she doesn't say Chris. She says you. And the text for the you was red. That put it into perspective because Chris has been getting, because I noticed that Chris has been getting phone calls on their phone recently, showing somebody talking to them. And my God, it made me piece together what's going on in this chapter a lot. And I think that really helped me. Um, I guess moving on from that. Uh, Sorry, this is an unscripted video, so I'm like trying to piece. This is also my first like for like review-esque video too, so um, it's a bit weird. Not as much confident in myself, but okay. Trying to think. Where to next? Where to next? Where to next? Oh yeah, the fountain shenanigans. Okay, Ross also in this chapter. He was a lot of because like Susie said back in chapter 3 that she does not like it when people don't tell you like the full picture or like the full thing. Rouse kind of got tripped up by that in that chapter because they they like mentioned they were kind of like shakingly saying like Tenna and stuff like that. And I think this chapter really nailed in that point that Susie does not like that. Felt like they were hiding something, in which they were to protect us. Well, protect Susie and Chris from like the prophecy and stuff. Also, seeing Garrison, I did. Since I never played Undertale, I wouldn't know who he is or was. But the regular experience from seeing him as like a character, I already like him. I just like him as like an old guy who's also like he like takes notes. He's smart basically, but he's also a bit of a goof. I also liked how if you like use him a couple times, he can actually spare some of the enemies, and I find that really cool. But man, the overall themes for this chapter was like just like man, very good, really good stuff. Um, One thing that surprised me was that the water coolers were mizzles or mizzies, however you pronounce them. I was surprised by that because they turned pink at a certain point. So that the water cooler that you fight like about 3 times in chapter 3, that's a whole entire darkener. And I was kind of baffled by that. It was very interesting because now I understand why people made fan art of a task manager and the missiles. They called the ship. I think they called the ship Mismanage. I still haven't fought the big missile yet, so that's like the only thing that I haven't spared. For like chapter 4, and I think I can go back to it. I'm not too sure though, but yeah. I guess I'll talk about like the founder shenanigans too. Um, there was a lot of the fountain shenanigans in the dark and basically the night, like holding everybody back for like majority of the time was kind of crazy. Like we had to go like Fun Gang had to go from point A to point B. Night comes, drop them down back to point A, and so on and so forth. But then Susie, but then Chris, seeing that Chris had the knife on standby for Susie to make the her like her own dark world in the middle of the church because chapter 4 takes place in the church. That's why it was so big. Now that I like, put the pieces together and understand that. Um, uh, God. What I like about Susie's Dark World is that it's not what you expected. Because now that I finished the chapter, I looked up like what her Dark World meant in the Garrison statue too. Basically, like being somebody like how Susie was at the beginning of chapter 1. She's all rude and brooding and stuff like that, like taking somebody for granted who will eventually hate her. And I really hit different because I was a Garrison. That's why her Dark World was kind of weird. Like the colors were weird. Some things were inverted. It's very interesting. I think I really like. I know I'm bouncing around through like certain points in the chapters, but as I said, this is an unscripted video, so I'm just like saying what is related to the thing, the chapters. But the Jackenstein boss fight. It took me like about like 3, 5 attempts to get through it. You're taking too long. I kind of like that. It was like a switch up from like all like the deep stuff that chapter 4 had. And I did like the theme. The theme was pretty jamming, especially the beginning. I did like the beginning too. And I like how unique the boss fight was because certain points in chapter 4, your TP gain was like lowered drastically to about like 2%, I think, instead of the usual like 16 that you would normally get. And like you're basically going through like a haunted house, and you're gathering these yellow orbs, which is the TP, which was basically used for later on. I'll get into that later. I'll get into that too. I'll get to that definitely. And if you're taking too long, you like the pumpkin head comes up, and I like that because I heard people compare it to like a YouTube poop. That was pretty cool. And being able to climb was also pretty nice. I thought you were gonna be able to climb at like chapter. I thought you had the ability to climb stuff at a certain point in like the earlier chapters, but this like really like nailing in you being able to climb stuff was pretty cool. I did like the. It's like it's a pretty fun thing to do. Like when I was like first like testing like playing around with it, I was like, wow, I can climb now basically. And it was really cool. But I do want to get into like the apex of this chapter. The chapter that the parts that made like me emotional, stuff like that. I guess for example is that Susie, when we were like going through the prophecies and whatnot. Susie breaking like the final one that states what the final prophecy state is, and her actually like bleeding was something that kind of hit me hard a little bit because I really like her as a character and her like whole arc in chapter 4, like she just feels like she's like the true hero of Deltarune. Like coincidentally enough, because because we the player are controlling Chris, and this is not the Chris. This Chris isn't really normal. This isn't like truly Chris. We're controlling Chris. And I wonder if the vessel character that we made will ever be like put into like the chapters or like the future chapters. I really hope that they do that because it'll be really cool, honestly. Uh, and like Susie comforting like Ralsei, who was like crying and like seeing like blood on their face was kind of like tear jerking a little bit because like after all this point, this is like truly like the most important thing we gotta do. Like you gotta like get this over with, or at least try to stop something from happening, right? Because a lot of stuff is happening like left and right, and you don't really know. And we're all say like smiling to overcome like his sadness or like dread from like what's going to happen because of the prophecy. Because he knows almost everything about the prophecy. He knows almost everything that will happen. I mean, frick, they know. My bad. They know almost everything that will happen, and I feel like that takes a toll on their whole entire mental state, meaning that they try to hide it away but via smiling. And I kind of understand that because I kind of go through that too. But we take a turning point to the basically like the final like bits of chapter 4. The Roaring Knight, or like the knight, I guess, in a sense, throws like their daggers into the fountain, overloading the fountain, creates a wall, and we just start seeing dark, like just dark, dark, and just a ton of dark. So the fun gang, they climb up the little they climb up the pillar, and it has like darkness and stuff like that, like the whole entire abyss, like coming up, trying to reach them. I did like the teamwork aspect between Chris and Susie when climbing. That was really fun. That was really nice. I did like that. And the scary thing was, it's like when you fight the enemies for like the dark, like the whole entire abyss for I guess the third sanctuary, I think, or like the climbing tower. They're not even based off of puns. They're called just spawn. That's what kind of freaked me out because up to this point, all the darkeners or all the like enemies that you've been facing in Deltarune have been based off of puns of like already existing things. But then when you fight these specific things, they're just called spawn. They're basically like dark creature fetuses that you have to. Well, I mercied them. I mercied them, and how they're basically weak to light stuff, and that kind of makes sense. And then we reach to the final boss of the game, the Titan. Thing is, that Titan was just like the first stage, like a baby. If you like check it, if you like check it with Chris, um, it says that it has like multiple forms, and hearing that kind of brought another chill down my spine because this is not the full enemy creature, whatever it is. But dang, Guardian, which is the Titans like theme, by the way. Guardian is an absolute banger of a like final boss theme. That crap slaps so hard. It's just really good. Like amazingly good. And I gotta give props. Because Toby Fox went so hard, and everybody on the Deltarune team, they went so hard. And Garrison coming up with the clutch on attacking the Titan. I really liked that. That was very cool. Finally beating the Titan. Finally sealing the fountain. We go back to the church. Chris and Susie go back are still in the church. We proceed to walk home and starts raining. Since I never played Undertale, I don't really understand the musical references, but I have been watching them, however, and from the song that plays when you're sitting outside, letting the rain just play. It's raining. This is, I think it's called this. I'm trying to remember. Um. Yeah, this place where it rained. This place where it rained plays. And from what I heard, it's a callback to Undertale's It's Raining Somewhere Else. And Undertale was basically almost 10 years ago. God dang. It was almost 10 years ago. Jesus Christ. Good lord. Um Man. Okay. And then after experiencing everything that has happened between chapter 3 and chapter 4, because they're basically like continuations from one another. After experiencing that, we come home. Chris and Susie come home. Or well, they come to Chris's house and all that. And seeing the lights on and opening it. After all that, experiencing all that trauma, all that like it's it was kind of saddening, honestly. And then we see Toriel and Sans dancing. She didn't want to call Chris. She didn't want to see if they were okay. I mean, well, couldn't really talk because they were in dark world, but still, it would be good to like call them at least. And just seeing her flat out drunk was kind of saddening to see. And Sam's basically brushing that off as like just a normal thing, and that kind of really tore me a little bit. So just decided to head back to sleep. Chris puts puts us in the cage. You could actually move the soul a little bit in the cage. I just like recognized that when I was like playing. Um but man, seeing what Chris had to go through during like the last few minutes of chapter 4 was kind of insane. and Susie basically yelling so loud that we can hear it, that we, the player, and Chris can hear what she's saying. Well, not the text, but hearing what the person is saying. Um, like telling them to stop, stuff like that. And Susie leaves the house. Chris is basically out in the window because I think they were going to leave. Like, again. Like they normally do. Um, it's, it was crazy. And then we finally get to the credits. The credits were very emotional because, you know, after all that, like, after all that you've experienced, it was, it was kind of insane. I think, and like, hearing, like, the credits song, like, fully, like, again and again and again, really, like, sparked something in me, you know, motivational stuff. This chapter is just filled with emotion. That's all I gotta say. Like, this is emotion, the chapter in Deltarune, right? It's insane. But then seeing that Deltarune Chapter 5 will be coming 2026, it really gives me hope for the future. Well, for, you know, hope for this whole entire, like, franchise, or, like, series, I guess. Or this game, actually. This game is the right term. This game. And I'm just very excited. Like, let's put the love back into, like, me talking about, because I'm not really good at RPGs. In a sense, I'm not really good at them. I suck at them. But this one really, like, sparked my love to possibly get into the whole entire genre. I gotta thank Toby Fox and the Deltarune crew for that. The pixel art, top notch. The music, top notch. Everything between the character interactions, the story, for the halfway point of Deltarune, very peak. It's very good. We start from the king, start from the queen, we go from Tenna, and then we go to the Titan. Seeing all that mesh together in a good form for the halfway point of this whole entire game was really nice. And I gotta thank everybody for that. But that being said, I do want to end this video with a thank you to, like, Toby Fox and the people who made Deltarune. Because, like, y'all did some very good stuff. Very good stuff. And I just want to say that. In the end, this is an unscripted video. I'll say that again. I'm probably only going to edit, like, the beginning and the end, like, to, like, fade it in and out. But other than that, I'm not going to do too much. This is just a unfiltered video, unedited video, by the way. So, yeah. With that being said, thank you guys for listening to me ramble about Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 and talk about it a little bit. And with that being said, see you guys in the next video. Bye, anti-heroes.